Hypatia of Alexandria, the woman who defied the Dark Ages. The city of Alexandria, in the late 4th century, was a marvel of the ancient world. Founded by Alexander the Great, it was a melting pot of cultures: Greek, Egyptian, Roman, and Jewish. Its streets were alive with merchants from distant lands, scholars debating under colonnades, and ships docking with treasures from across the Mediterranean. At its heart stood the great Library of Alexandria, a legendary center of knowledge. It was here, in this city of wonders, that Hypatia was born around 370 CE. Her father, Theon of Alexandria, was one of the last great scholars associated with the library. A mathematician, astronomer, and philosopher, Theon believed that the mind was a garden to be cultivated. Unlike many in his time, he did not see his daughter's gender as a limitation. Instead, he saw in her a mind capable of greatness. From an early age, Hypatia's education was rigorous. She learned to speak with precision, to think logically, and to question everything. Mathematics was her first language, from the geometry of Euclid to the intricate curves of conic sections. Her father also trained her in astronomy, teaching her to track the movement of the planets and understand celestial mechanics. But Theon was not only interested in filling her mind with facts. He wanted Hypatia to live in harmony with both body and soul. According to some accounts, he trained her in physical endurance, rowing, horseback riding, and even swimming, believing a strong body supported a strong mind. As she grew, Hypatia began to surpass even her father's abilities. She became an expert in the works of Ptolemy, Diophantus, and Plotinus. Her understanding of Neoplatonism, a school of philosophy that emphasized the existence of a higher reality beyond the physical, became so deep that she eventually took over the Neoplatonic school of Alexandria. Her lectures were famous. Students from Greece, Egypt, Syria, and even distant lands would gather to hear her speak. She stood tall, often dressed in the white robes of a philosopher, and spoke with clarity and passion about geometry, astronomy, ethics, and the nature of the soul. Many described her as not only brilliant, but also gracious and warm, capable of making even the most difficult concepts understandable. Hypatia was more than a teacher, she was also an inventor and scholar. She improved the design of the astrolabe, an instrument used for navigation and astronomy. She may have worked on hydrometers for measuring liquids, and she wrote commentaries that clarified the works of great mathematicians, making them more accessible for future generations. But Alexandria was no longer the peaceful intellectual hub it had once been. The Roman Empire was in decline, and Christianity was rapidly rising to dominance in the region. Religious tensions between Christians, pagans, and Jews often erupted into violence. Hypatia, a pagan philosopher respected by members of all communities, tried to remain neutral in the city's political struggles. However, her close friendship with Orestes, the governor of Alexandria, put her in the middle of a dangerous rivalry with Cyril, the powerful Christian bishop. Rumors began to spread. Accusations that Hypatia was using her influence to turn Orestes against Cyril, that she was a sorceress, that her philosophy was a threat to the new Christian order. In March of 415 CE, tragedy struck. As Hypatia rode through the streets in her chariot, a mob of Christian zealots intercepted her. Led by a man named Peter the Reader, they dragged her to the Caesareum, stripped her, and brutally murdered her with roof tiles or seashells. Her remains were burned outside the city. Her death sent shockwaves through the ancient world. For many historians, it symbolized the end of the classical era, the moment when the flame of ancient science and philosophy was nearly extinguished. The Library of Alexandria had already suffered losses, but with Hypatia's death, one of its last great lights was gone. Yet Hypatia's legacy endured. For centuries, she was remembered as a martyr for knowledge, a woman who stood against ignorance and fanaticism. In the modern era, she has become an icon for intellectual freedom, women in science, and the courage to think differently. Her story is a reminder that the pursuit of truth is not always safe, but it is always worth it.